Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is Bookie's Corner, and I'll be giving you an illustration of how I recruited this dress I pop into, actually a jumpsuit I pop into on IG. And as you can see, I labeled jumpsuit back, front, then we have shoulder, bust line, waist, hip, flap, knee, length. Then for the front, we have shoulder, bust line, bust points, under bust, waist, hip, flap, knee, length. As you can see, then onto the next is, I'm so sorry I did this off camera, but if you are not new to sewing, you will know how to draft a half scale body, the regular half scale body, but the only difference is the curve you are seeing. Most people felt it's a corset, but it is a bit similar to corset. I tightened my back, create my dart, place my bust measurement, my waist measurement. I went up from the bust point. I went up by one or half. It depends on how open you want the cleavage to be. Make my V-neck, create that curve. As you can see, though something is missing my bust, that I'm sorry, but that will pop out soon. Then I came to the down part. I placed my hip measurement, my flap. You know how to get the flap. That is hip 5 by 20 to get your flap. Connect to my new length, then to my ankle or full length. I did so to the side. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to make use of ruler. I'm meant to use a French curve for that part, but ruler was available. Like I said, this is just a rough sketch of how I feel that outfit was created, or was drafted rather. So, and I'm loving this already. It's already forming shape. So the next thing you need to do is to extend my flap area. So if you're not new to making a trouser, you know that this is a trouser, like a jumpsuit obviously, but I'm right on the down part. So making a trouser, we all know that the trouser flap for the front and the back are not the same. They are never the same. So you'll be wondering, what is the dotted line meant for? The dotted line is simply telling you that if you don't want it fitted, that's the first line serving as a fitted or pencil trouser, then you could make it in form of a palazzo. And also, if you don't want to go through this stress, you could simply cut your trouser, the normal way you cut your trouser. Then you draft your upscale body the normal way you draft your upscale body, but always remember to add that extension at the front that looks like a basque. So most people knows how to go about it, and some prefer to do it like joint cut together like this is cut together, and you can also cut separately. So like I said, if you're not new to sewing, this would not look magical to you in any way. So I am performing magic here. I'm just trying to give an instant or give an illustration. So back to that flap, there's an extension at the back. It could be 1.5, 2, depend on how big the person is. So the first line I did was just to serve as a guide, which, remember I said the front flap and the back flap are never the same. There's always a difference, an extension. So I erased that out, as you can see me doing, trying to connect the lines back. So there's just an extension at the at the back flap. You'll be wondering, why is there so much emphasis on the flap? Yes, there is, because most people might make that mistake of using the initial or the first line. So sorry, that line was not straight. There's also an extension on the waist part. I'm still on the back, on the waist part, but we'll get to that shortly. So to this line I'm drafting that serve as basque, you either come down by 3 or 4, from the waist part. As you can see, the way we do our regular basque corset It's the same way you come down, then connect it to the side, that's the front side or the side front. Then the same thing, and next thing I need to do is to extend my that leg out. So I was already telling you that you cut it out that way. So I'll extend my that leg out, just like we create that for skirt or gown. This should not confuse you in any way. It's just an illustration of how I drafted my pattern. So I decided to come to the board, or to use the board rather, to show you the illustration, assuming a measurement. So this is just like a small scale measurement. So I back to it, I extended my that leg, I tightened that part. So if you remember to always tighten that part, and when you want to cut, you tighten close and connect your lines so that your lines should be equal. I think I need to do a rough sketch again using paper, but watch this first. So you're wondering, why is there another dotted line again at the hop? The dotted line is also an extension. If you are familiar with trouser rather, this would not look magical to you. But this dotted line I'm trying to show to you would not be on the pattern. It will be after you cut out your half scale body. Then you can add that extension either by 1 or 2. Add that extension to it, then you cut out on your fabrics. So this was what I skipped initially when I was drafting out my half scale body, the bust that. You know that the bust that is as a result of your half front, that's your half length front and your half length back. We all know that our half length front is not the same as our half length back, and the difference from the half length front and the half length back is what results to our bust that. Remember to close that. Like I do say, if you are familiar with sewing, or you're not new to sewing, this should not look magical to you. Thank you for viewing. Love you.